Kanser at karne? Yung pagkain nga ba ng red meat? Yun nga ba yung sanhi ng cancer? Meron nga ba silang kinalaman sa isa't isa? O kapag yung tao bang merong cancer ay bawal nang kumain ng karne? Cancer at low carb, meron pa nga ba tayong magagawa? Parati yang mga tanong sa atin when it comes to cancer. Kasi nga, nakita natin na walang pinipili yung cancer. Isa siya sa mga sakit na hanggang ngayon ay considered na wala talagang lunas. So ako po si Dr. Josephine Grace Rojo and magandang gabi sa lahat and magandang umaga sa mga nanonood from the other side of the world. Pag-usapan po natin ngayong araw na ito is yung cancer and low carb, kung meron pa nga ba tayong magagawa. And yung totoo ba, kung meron nga bang kinalaman yung pagkain ng karne at cancer. So first, unahin natin kung ano nga ba yung cancer. So yung cancer po, by definition, ito yung sakit na kung saan yung normal cells ay tumutubo beyond kung saan siya dapat lang. At yung isang characteristic ng isang cancer cell ay ito ay nagme-metastasize. Ibig sabihin, ito ay nagsuspread to one location. So for example, kung meron kang isang tumor na tumutubo sa example sa iyong dila o sa iyong lalamunan, and then later on, nakita na pwede itong pumunta sa iyong baga o di kaya sa iyong buto o di kaya sa iyong lymph nodes. Okay? So the capacity of this tumor o yung bukol na ito to metastasize or mag-extend and kumalat sa ibang parte ng katawan na pwede niyang lamunin ang other part of the body, yun po ang nagiging cancer. So maraming bukol na hindi naman cancer. Ang tawag doon, benign tumor. So hellos to 1,888. So we love the 8 number. Thank you for watching and please do help spread this para kung sino man yung pwedeng matulungan. So yung cancer ngayon, tingnan natin kung ano yung current na nalalaman natin ngayon. By standard, 3 yung common na ginagawa kapag may cancer yung isang tao. Depende yan sa stage. Kung stage 1 o stage 2 pa lang, yun ay considered as early stage cancer. Kasi yung location niya localized. Ibig sabihin, nasa lugar na kung saan pa lang siya. Mostly basta nasa 2 to 4 centimeters pa lang yung size, yun ay considered as localized. So, ibig sabihin, isang step lang o isang procedure lang, madali itong nakukuha. Say for example, surgery. Isang hiwa lang makukuha na agad. Or yung iba, radiation. O yung iba naman, chemotherapy only. Isang mode of management lang makukuha na. But kapag ito ay naging stage 3 or stage 4 na, ito ay considered as advanced stage. At yung mga stage 3 and stage 4, meron ding subcategories yan. Merong stage 3B, stage 3C, at yung mga pinakamalala nga is yung stage 4. Yung stage 4, meron yung stage 4A, stage 4B, stage 4C. Usually, yung stage 4A is sobrang laki, pero nandyan pa rin. And meron pa talagang pag-asa na isang operasyon lang, isang surgery lang, pwede siyang makuha and then pwedeng bigyan ng chemotherapy or radiation therapy para kung meron mang natitira dyan ay maubos. Stage 4B, yun ay mas malala na kasi nga meron na yung usually na spread. For example, sa lymph node. So, yung lymph node, yun po yung mga, ano nga yun? Nakalimutan ko anong tawag dun sa Tagalog. O sa it's lymph node, yun yung parang sa lymph natin na kung saan nagde-drain yung ating, kulane pala yun. Okay? So, yung kulane, it's actually a drainage system yan sa ating katawan. Kaya, kapag say for example, meron kang sore throat sa ipin mo, sasakit, nagkakaroon ka ng kulani dito. Okay? And for example, kung meron kang sakit sa, say for example, nagkaroon ka ng malaking boil sa iyong kamay, pwede kang magkakulani sa kilikili. Yun yung mga drainage system natin. So, yun yung lymph drainage. So, kapag may cancer, ganun din. So, yung lymph node system natin or yung lymphatic system natin, sila yung parang nag-filter. Tinatry sana nilang i-ward off o i-contain kung ano man yung infection o kung ano mang sakit like cancer na nasa certain organ. So for example, yung mukha and sa ulo, yung kanilang drainage system ay nasa leeg. So nandito yung lymph node natin. Kung kumakain kayo ng manok o di kaya ng leeg ng manok and baboy, kung kapag meron kayo nakikita yung parang mga bean shape na mga maliliit na matitigas, yun yung lymph node. So kapag malaki yan, ibig sabihin merong sakit yung kinakain yung manok. So that's the same thing with humans. Kapag merong sakit na kumakalat na, yung mga lymph nodes na yun lumalaki. So that's why yung mga doktor, yung tawag dyan, palpation, pinapalpate, okay? So, kung kayo, gusto nyo, use your finger pads, tapos you make your fingers like this, i-check nyo lang, okay, slightly flex daw, medyo ganyan, okay? Titingnan nyo kung meron kayong makapa. Normally, wala tayong makakapa. Kung meron mang makakapa, as long as hindi siya lalagpas ng 2 centimeters, okay? Sa mga bata, normally, yung kanilang lymph node is prominent, okay? Mas obvious kesa sa mga matanda na. And yung importante, hindi masakit at hindi siya lumalaki. So, those are indications na benign. But if it's malignant, pwede siyang lumaki and pwede siyang pumunta sa both sides. So, to head and neck cancer, yun yung specialty natin, okay? So, yung isa sa pinaka-common na mga head and neck cancer sa Pilipinas and sa Asians, especially sa lalaki, is yung tawag nating nasopharyngeal cancer. So, yung nasopharyngeal, naso, ilong, pharynx, okay, yung sa lalamunan. So, it's actually yung nasa likod ng ilong. It's like yung lalamunan natin, but nasa itaas na parte, na bahagi. So, yun yung nasopharynx. And usually, wala silang obvious na manifestations. Walang bukol, walang sakit, walang nose bleeding, wala lahat. Yung unang manifestation is actually lymphadenopathy. So, yung lumalaki. So, kung titingnan mo, makikita nyo yan, para siyang bullfrog o lumalaki dito. So, yun yung unang manifestations nila sometimes. Ano pa yung ibang early manifestations ng cancer? Pwede yung paos. If parati kayong paos na hindi nawawala, okay? Especially for those who are smoking. And even yung sa mga nagsusmoke and then may edad na, and you can see your tongue or yung baba ninyo, merong mga singaw na hindi rin gumagaling. Hindi yung singaw ng mga maliliit ha, na after 1 week nawawala and then another 2 weeks kasi nag-high carb ka, bumalik na naman. So iba yon. Merong mga singaw, yung tawag nating non-healing ulcer. Kapag matagal na yan, more than 1 month na at hindi gumagaling, better have that checked kasi nga baka indication na yan na meron ng namumuong cancer. So, importante, tingnan natin. So, iba't iba yung manifestation, yung pinaka-common, obvious. Yung mga Pinoy kasi, hindi yan madaling nagpapa-check up. Usually, nagpapa-check up sila kapag sumasakit na o di kaya very deforming na, sobrang laki na. So, yung common na nakikita natin, yung mga cancer sa balat. So, yung mga sa kanilang ilong, sa kanilang bibig, o di kaya sa kanilang pisngi na merong parang nagsisimula as ano lang, as parang mole lang, okay? Yung parang ano lang siya, benign mole, okay? Parang birthmark lang. And then eventually, nakamot, and then dumugo, and then later on, parang naging ulcer na, bumuho ng bumuho, and then yung nakita natin, hindi na siya gumagaling. So, those can actually be considered as cancer. So, the question is, bakit yung merong mga tao na grabe, nagkakaroon ng cancer, at meron namang mga taong wala talaga, at wala itong pinipili? Hindi ito related sa socio-economic status, matanda, bata, meron ding mga mayaman, meron din namang farmers. Ako as a government worker. So usually yung mga nakikita natin are the ones na ano talaga nagtatrabaho sa farm, nagtatrabaho sa bukid, mangingisda, taxi driver, jeepney driver, construction worker, and they can come from all ages. So wala po itong pinipili, and right now in our private practice, nakita natin na hindi excuse yung sabi nating yung nakakaluwag sa buhay ay walang cancer. Of course not. Actually, mas meron ngang certain cancers na marami din on those groups. So ano yung common sa kanila? So first, hindi natin alam talaga kung paano talaga nagsisimula ang cancer. But by research, yung cancer namumuo kapag merong repeated exposure ng trauma and healing. So, for example, kapag ito ay na-injure and then yung natural nating tendency is to repair, so nire-repair yan ng system natin. But eventually, kapag na-injure na naman ulit, i-repair na naman ulit, and then kapag patuloy yung kanyang cycle, pwedeng magkaroon ng parang mutation in such a way na magkakaroon ng period sa pag-repair na hindi na makontrol. So it becomes out of control. So 'di ba kapag merong sakit o merong kailangang i-repair, merong something broken, so your body will try to fill that up para maging whole again. Pero kapag patuloy yan, it can have an erroneous way of correcting na mag-overcorrect. So on the process of healing, actually, nag-overheal, nag-overcompensate. And that can lead to what we call cancerous formation, wherein tuloy-tuloy yung paglaki and pag-compensate ng certain organ na ganyan. So, for example, kuha tayo ng isang basic example when it comes to cancer formation is cancer of the throat or cancer of the tongue, no? Or cancer of the skin, yun na lang. So, although we love vitamin D, okay? Pero by research, nakita natin na overexposure to the sun, okay, pwede siyang mag-lead to cancer. Because too much sun exposure, nakaka-damage din naman. So we are not promoting anything too much. Even if we love vitamin D, but we know na hindi rin to kailangang sobra-sobra. Like just 10 minutes of sun exposure during noon time is already enough for your daily vitamin D dose. Okay? So, but for those who are exposed to the sun, like yung 8 hours talaga nakababad sa ilalim ng araw, and then so sunburn, and then UV radiation, nagkakaroon niya ng damage sa skin. And then i-repair, and then pagka next day, damage na naman. And so that continuous process that goes on for decades, yun yung nagre-result into eventually erroneous repair ng ating katawan. Nagkakamali sa pag-repair kasi nga sa sobra-sobrang patuloy na paulit-ulit na pag-damage and repair cycle. Magkakaroon ng period na wherein hindi na kaya ng katawan natin yung damage, and then yung repair na nagawa niya is hindi na efficient, and that can lead into cancer formation or cancer mechanism. So marami yan, merong P53, merong mga kung ano-anong mga checkpoints sa ating katawan wherein it will supposedly stop cancer formation. But nag-o-override. And for throat naman and lung cancer and our mouth cancer, number one na alam nating risk factor is the smoking. So smoking is very injurious, okay? So wala siyang kahit anong nutritional value. Pero kung tatanungin niyo naman, mayroon tayong kilala na at least one person na namatay ng 80, 90 years old na nagsusmoke but walang cancer. How come? So actually, these tawag natin nitong mga carcinogens, okay? Meron tayong mga known carcinogens. Merong mga carcinogens na yes, sila yung nakaka-lead into damage, okay? But actually, kung walang magsosupply ng pagkain to feed the cancer, okay? Actually, it can just be damage and repair. So I'm not saying na kung alam nyo na kung ano yung kinakain ng cancer and iniiwasan nyo na ito, ay libre na kayong mag-smoke ng isang pakete ng sigarilyo whole day. Of course not. Okay? But I'm just saying that hindi actually one factor lang. It's usually multifactorial. And by what we know sa ngayon, ano ba yung parang standard when it comes to detecting cancer sa ating radiography? Okay? Meron tayong radiographic diagnostic. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga imaging studies. Kasama dito yung X-ray, okay? Kasama dito yung CT scan, yung MRI, yung PET scan, at marami pa yung iba. Pero sila apat na ito, sila itong parang basic, okay? Yung iba nagkakaroon ng functional MRI, merong CT scan and arteriography, yung mga specific na. But generally, ito yung category. One slice ng X-ray sa chest, sa mukha, kung saan man, sa buto, CT scan, MRI, and PET scan. Okay? And sa kanilang apat, right now, yung PET scan, ito yung parang pinaka-specific when it comes to detecting cancer cells. Okay? Pag-uusapan natin kung paano siya nagde-detect ng cancer cells. So, but first, on diagnostic, maraming way to diagnose cancer. Meron tayong tinatawag na mga blood markers, okay? Cancer markers. So for example, CA1, CA19, CA125, and yung mga HER2 receptors sa breast cancer and sa ovarian cancer. So, certain cancers, nagkakaroon sila ng parang mga molecules na kapag mataas sila, okay, pwede silang indikasyon na merong cancer. So, sa liver, meron din yung alpha-fetoprotein. For the, ano naman, for the prostate cancer, meron din itong marker na yun din yung chine-check. So, yun ay blood marker. Sa dugo yun kinukuha. But what we talk about right now is the imaging. Yung nakikita talaga by images. Okay? So, yung images natin is the PET scan. So, positron emission test. Okay? Ano itong positron emission test? So, yung ginagawa nito, nag-i-inject sila ng certain dye. Okay? Yung parang pampakulay para malaman nila kung saan yung mga highly metabolic cells. Okay? And the presence of highly metabolic cells, yun actually correlates to cancer. Although, meron din namang iba like heart disease and certain brain disorders, but generally, the presence of highly metabolic, para siyang magkakaroon ng magla-light up. So, normally nakita niyo 'yon, 'di ba, yung mga CT scan or parang yung mga images na black and white lang. But yung kapag ginamit yung PET scan, makikita niyo actually it will light up. Okay, magiging pula, magiging yellow, magiging green, at kung saan yung pinakapula, usually yun yung area, localized area na kung saan may tumutubong bukol. So, yung idea behind this is kung saan yung lugar na yon na kung saan ito nagla-light up, siya yung kumukuha, nag-a-uptake ng dye, okay? Ng pampakulay. And alam nyo ba kung ano yung uptake na yon? Ano yung kinukuha nila? Ano yung ini-inject na yon para ma-detect? It's called FDG, okay? So, fluorodeoxyglucose. Okay? So, fluorodeoxyglucose, it's actually a radioactive isotope na glucose. Ano yung glucose? Glucose is the basic form of sugar. It's the basic carbohydrate. So, ibig sabihin, yung alam natin ngayon that's being utilized by sciences at basic level kung ano yung mga cells o lugar sa katawan na highly metabolic when it comes to metabolizing glucose, na nakapag-metabolize ng asukal, okay? Yun actually is considered as possible part of cancer formation. Kasi minsan, if we look at MRI or a CT scan, although medyo clear na siya, but it's just black and white. And minsan, hindi mo talaga madidelineate kung hanggang saan yung cancer extension. But if you pair that, ipagpares mo yan sa PET scan, and then makikita mo, malalaman mo talaga na kung akala mo 5 centimeters lang siya, and then comes PET scan, nakikita mo, dito yung, for example, dito yung may cancer. And then it already also light up yung mga kulani dito, yung mga lymph nodes dito. So you can say that same, especially na same side sila, most likely nag-extend na. Meron ng lymph node extension. Okay? At kapag meron pa yan, tiningnan din yung liver kasi mostly kapag PET scan, pwedeng whole body yan. So yung mga common site of metastasis or kung saan nagsuspread yung cancer, especially yung tawag nating hematogenous spread. Okay? So tatlo kasi yung spread Direct extension. So for example, yung cancer mo is nasa maxillary sinus lang, and then nag-extend siya sa mata kasi malapit lang, ang tawag dyan, direct extension. Okay? So, nag-extend lang siya sa kabilang bakod. And then, if it is lymphatic spread, nag-spread siya sa lymph nodes, okay? So, that is already lymphatic spread. And kapag meron na siyang distant metastasis, sobrang layo, pumunta na siya sa bones, sa bone marrow, sa lungs, and sa liver, yun yung common niya, at saka even sa brain, okay? So, yun ay considered na as hematogenous spread. So, that is already considered as advanced stage 4 cancer. Okay? So, by this pa lang, alam na natin na it's actually not new na yung cancer cells are highly metabolic organ using only glucose as energy. So, pwedeng maraming magsasabi na merong mga research na baka yung cancer daw ay kumakain na rin ng ketones o di kaya baka kung yung cancer kumakain na rin ng karne. But those are still not validated, okay? With what we know, kung ayaw niyong maniwala na yung cancer ay nagtathrive on glucose, I will not force you. But there might be another way of expanding it later on. But with what we know now, we know that even the basic diagnostic kung paano i-detect yung cancer, it's under the presumption na yung cancer, yung kinakain niya ay glucose. Okay? So now, cancer and low carb, may magagawa pa nga ba? So it depends. The answer would be, it depends kung anong stage na yung cancer. Of course, if it's already late stage, okay, pwedeng mahirap na talaga. But what we can do with low carb is, hindi man natin ma-reverse from stage 4 going to zero disease, no, na biglang wala talaga. But at least, that's the best chance that you can have in a way na gugutumin mo yung cancer. And there is a way na pwedeng gutumin mo yung cancer, but your normal cells will not be hungry. It's because yung cancer cells is highly dependent sa glucose. Siya ay sobrang glucose addict. And yung problema nito, if you are not aware of that, the person also becomes glucose addict. Because yung cancer, siya mismo magdidikta sa utak na eto yung kainin mo. It will make the person crave for more sugar, crave for more carbohydrates, without realizing na it's actually not the person talaga na nangangailangan nun, but it's the cancer. It's the cancer that's poisoning the brain. Okay? The person mismo to keep on eating carbohydrates and glucose to feed itself. Meron nga nagsasabi na yung totoong immortal daw are actually the cancer cells. Kasi actually, hindi sila namamatay. They will eat and grow and grow. However, namamatay sila because the host already die. So yung host mismo, yung tao mismo, namamatay muna bago yung cancer. So with research, marami ngayong research when it comes to limiting carbohydrate intake and cancer. Okay? So, iba-iba yung result. So, yung result nito, yung iba, merong nagsasabing hindi effective at maraming iba din na nagsasabing effective. And then, meron ding studies on miraculous, okay? Miraculous conversions of cancer. Pwede niyong tingnan yan sa Netflix. Meron niyang, merong episode niyan, Heal, okay? So, Heal, yung documentary na yan, and also Heal and Magic Pill. So, yun, tingnan nyo yung dalawang movie na yun because it actually tackles about miraculous transformations na meron talagang mga testimonials na pwede itong ma-reverse by correcting the diet ng tao and of course other factors like positivity, prayers, faith, and we are also not against radiotherapy and the standard medicine because ako mismo nag-o-opera ako and I know na may mga panahon talaga na kailangan talagang operahan, like say for example if meron ng frozen tongue, okay, so yung frozen tongue, if you can imagine, open your mouth, tapos hindi mo galawin yung dila mo, try to talk. Hindi ka makakapag-usap. Okay? And that is because na meron na talagang irreversible damage. So in episodes na meron ng irreversible damage and the only way para maisalba yung buhay o yung pag-spread pa, yung hematogenous and lymphatic spread ay kunin ito through surgery, then go for surgery kung kailangan. Kung sa merong mga cancer like for example sa tenga, pwedeng kunin yung isang tenga, mabubuhay ka pa. Your life is more important and you can just deal with post-operation after. By research, yung mga taong nagkumakain ng low carb, especially guided low carb, okay? Iba-iba kasi yung protocol when it comes to cancer and low carb. Mas maganda rin yung kanilang response to chemotherapy and radiation. Ibig sabihin, hindi namin sinasabi na kapag maglo-low carb ka o i-change mo yung diet mo is pwede nang hindi ka na magpa-opera, hindi ka na magpa-radiation, hindi ka na magpa-chemo. Because by research actually, they can help each other. Pwede na yung response to chemotherapy at yung response to radiation ay mas maganda. Now, I've asked one of our colleagues, yung mga kilala namin who are also managing patients directly na puro cancer lang, they said na theoretically talaga, they agree na kapag yung tao ay limitahan yung pagkain ng glucose, limitahan yung pagkain ng low carb, malaki talaga yung maitutulong para yung cancer nga ay hindi na lumaki. Kasi during that time, magkakaroon ng better chances yung tao to survive because during that time, yung cancer parang gugutumin mo. And when you do low carb the right way, pwedeng na yung normal cells mo ay magiging nourished pa din. It can still live and thrive. Okay? You eating just proteins and fats and only very minimal kind of carbohydrates, while at the same time, yung cancer cells ay parang magugutom and manghihina. Their only concern is that yung mga cancer patients daw, marami na silang concerns. They are already very depressed. They are already somewhat nawawala na ng hope, and marami na silang, the moment that they were diagnosed with cancer, umiba na rin kanilang mindset. Tapos hindi na sila capable of understanding things and like that. And kapag sinabi daw na kukunin pa, i-change mo pa yung diet nila, baka daw mas lalo silang ma-depress. So their concern is that baka hindi maka-adjust yung adjustment period. And they are suggesting na kung meron man newly diagnosed na cancer patient, sa simula pa lang i-a-appraise na. Dapat alam na nila how to go about their nutrition para hindi rin sila mabigla, so that hindi lang sila, while they are adjusting sa mga kailangang management, sa mga adjustments sa pamumuhay when it comes to cancer and all that, hindi na rin sila mag-a-adjust pa sa pagkain. But for me, I believe na kapag ikaw, like ako nga, hindi naman ako nagka-cancer. My only motivation before sa pag-fasting at pag-low carb is somewhat parang superficial. Kasi wala naman akong serious illness. Yes, meron akong allergic rhinitis, okay? Meron akong mga maraming aches and pains, meron akong excess fats noon, and I wanted to remove that. Pero wala akong serious talaga na sakit na say life and death. And yet, ginusto kong mag-improve yung aking lifestyle. Ginusto kong mag-improve yung aking health. And I believe na kung yung tao ay bibigyan mo lang ng option, especially kung yung buhay niya na yung at stake, I don't think it will make them even more stressful. I think it would even make them more hopeful. Mas lalaban sila knowing na merong isang bagay sa kanilang buhay that they can own. Merong isang bagay sa kanilang buhay na pwedeng sila talaga yung gumawa ng paraan that it's under their own control. Kasi yung problem kasi when it comes to these illnesses, especially the likes of cancer, yung feeling mo na you are no longer in control, yung i-give up mo na lahat, although we entrust everything to the one, to God, to the Lord, no, kung ano man yung pinaniniwalaan natin, especially when we are on our lowest times, ini-entrust na lang natin lahat. But iba pa rin if there is some part that you can do, because as much as I believe, no, naniniwala ako to really entrust everything sa may kapal, but I also believe when we do entrust it, we also do need to do our part. Hindi pwedeng magpapabaya na lang tayo. And if you are watching this, maybe for your own sake or your loved one's sake, or kung sino man kilala mo, I don't think it's an accident that you were able to watch this episode, because I believe meron talagang purpose lahat. And part of that is owning at least man lang kung anong ilalagay nyo sa inyong pagkain. So nagtatanong, Doc, meron na akong ganito, meron akong ganito, pwede pa ba akong mag-low carb? Again, wala pong contraindication yung low carb. Okay? Yung low carb, it's just a label. Pero yung totoo lang, totoong pagkain lang to. And it's simple. Gulay, kumain lang, yung pinaka-basic, yung baka ito yung gusto ng iba, no? Doc, ano ba talaga yung pwede kong kainin? Okay, isasabihin namin sa inyo kung ano yung pinaka-basic na pwede nyong kainin, yung sinasabi namin when we do our medical mission. Okay? At least 7 cups of vegetables in a day. Okay? At least 2 to 3 eggs in a day. And kung wala mang avocado, 1 to 3 tablespoon of coconut oil in a day. Yun ang kainin mo muna. Prioritize nyo yun. 2 hanggang 3 itlog. Minimum 7 cups of vegetables. Kahit ano yan, yung in here in Bacolod, we call that laswa, or other areas lasoy. And then for Cebu, it's utan bisaya. Okay? So in Tagalog, so any green, okay? So yung may sabaw or green salad. So 7 cups of those, you're already getting your potassium need in a day. Okay? So yung eggs naman, you are already at least getting 10 cholesterol, 10 good fats, and a minimum of like 12 grams of protein. Okay? And yung oil naman, 1 tablespoon is already 15 grams, 10 to 15 grams of good sources of fats. And then you can eat any meat, okay? any source of protein that you can have. Okay? So, yun lang. So, yun yung i-accomplish yung basic na yon. If kung merong avocado, so you can add avocado or change the avocado instead of the coconut oil. And also, your eggs, kung wala kang ibang protein intake, you can add more of your eggs depending on your need, and vegetables. And then, you eat additional. Kapag gutom ka pa kayo, kumain ng kahit gano'ng karaming isda, kahit gano'ng karaming karne, manok, baboy that you want. But, never take them together with kanin o di kaya tinapay, okay? And one thing most important when it comes to cancer, no? I think I've mentioned this before. It's actually very personal for me. Like yung papa namin is diabetic and he died at the age of 56 only. Okay? And 5 years before that, doon na siya nag-insulin. Okay? And the moment he was already in insulin, grabe siya ka-studious when it comes to blood sugar monitoring. At alam nyo ba kung anong kinamatay niya? Hindi hyperglycemia o hindi hypoglycemia. Hindi rin nga related sa lung cancer. Smoker po yung papa namin. Nakakaubos siya ng 1 to 2 packs of red cigarette in a day. Okay? Araw-araw yan. Yung panahon lang na hindi siya naninigarilyo is yung panahon na natutulog siya o kumakain siya. Kasi in between, naninigarilyo siya. So, that's how chain smoker he is. And yet, alam niyo ba kung ano yung kinamatayan niya? Liver cancer. Okay? So, he has liver cancer. At alam niyo kung ano yung diet niya the last 5 years na naka-insulin siya? Nag-a-avoid na siya ng rice, hindi na rin siya kumakain ng sweets, yung tinapay, kakaunti lang, and all that. Pero alam niyo kung ano yung always niyang kinakain? Prutas. Okay? So, fruits and fruits and fruits. Every time meron siyang pupuntahang farm o pupunta siya sa kung saan man, yun lang yung hinihingi niya. So, kasi marami siyang ginagawang mga services to people when it comes to parang mga kung ano-anong mga papeles na ganyan. And yung hinihingi lang niyang kapalit, bigyan lang siya ng prutas. Because he saw na yung fruits hindi tumataas yung kanyang blood glucose kasi nga it's full of fructose. But yung hindi niya alam na yung fructose pala, it could be highly inflammatory. Okay? And yung inflammation na yon is directly affecting the liver. And yung fructose na yon, it's easily translated into triglycerides. And when too much, it can lead into liver damage like fatty liver. At kapag meron ng fatty liver na hindi pa naagapan, continuously yung insult, that can lead into steatohepatitis or yun yung NASH, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, kasi hindi uminom yung papa namin. And then, after that, pwede itong mag-lead into liver cirrhosis. At yung liver cirrhosis, kapag hindi pa rin maagapan, that can lead into liver cancer. Okay? And yun, hindi siya umiinom, grabe siya manigarilyo, and naka-insulin siya for the longest time from diabetes. And he is eating a lot of fruits. So the the worst combination dito is actually the insulin and the fructose, because insulin is an anabolic hormone. Ang problem when we are exposed always of insulin, ito yung nagdidictate sa ating katawan to build more. Okay? Magkre-create siya because insulin is the boss when it comes to dictating kung ano yung ipaprioritize natin. It is also known as a fat-storing hormone kasi kapag merong insulin, nagdo-dominate sa katawan natin, it will store some fats. But not all people, okay, develop fat-storing mode. Okay? Marami tayong kilala na mga sobrang payat na kahit grabe na yung kain nila ng kanin at mga matatamis, hindi talaga sila lumalaki, hindi sila tumataba. And the effect of insulin could be on other parts. So, anabolism, building up. Kung hindi man siya nagbe-build up ng fats, you should actually question, ano kayang pinagagawa ni insulin ngayon? Kasi si insulin, hindi yan nagpapahinga. As long as nandyan yan, meron niyang gagawin at gagawin. And yung mga paborito niyang gawin, kung wala siyang kapagkabisihan sa fats, it can become busy building up proteins. Okay? So, proteins within the body. Okay? So, kapag nag-build up siya ng proteins, especially na ikaw ay malaking tao na, hindi ka naman kailangan pang tumaas pa kasi kahit gusto nating isipin na pwede pa tayong tumaas and pwede pa tayong mag-improve yung height natin, but no, our growth, no, sa bones natin yan, kapag na-reach niya na yung epiphyseal plate na tawag sa ating long bones na kung saan nagde-dictate ng ating height, hindi na talaga tayo tataas. We can just grow horizontally o di kaya we grow within our organs. And that growth might be a cancerous growth. Okay? So the insulin, it is an anabolic hormone na kapag hindi ito na-regulate ng mabuti, it can lead into presence of tumor. So the presence of too much insulin can lead into insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance pwede magkaroon ng cancer formation or tumor formation. So that's why we really have to lower our intake of glucose and carbohydrates, because yung glucose and carbohydrates, sila yung pinaka nagde-dictate ng presence ng insulin. So, cancer and low carb, may magagawa pa nga ba? Yes, of course, may magagawa pa. But you have to do it the right way. Kung kakiksik ka na, ibig sabihin yung butot balat ka na at meron kang cancer, of course, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-fasting. Kasi nga, wala nang matitira sa'yo. But you can have a certain meal plan na kung saan hindi ka maglulose pa ng extra weight, pero you will be provided with the right food, with the right macronutrients, no? Proportion ng fats, proportion ng proteins, and kung ano lang yung allowable mong carbohydrates na hindi ka manghihina, at the same time hindi ka na mas papayat pa. For those naman who just want to maintain weight, at meron ding, for example, cancer na gustong gutumin, so iba rin yung proportion na yan. And so, sa mga may cancer pero may katabaan pa, you can actually tolerate more of fasting, and then yung sa pagkain naman, you can also tolerate a little more, a little less foods, but with the right proportions. Dapat tama yung proportions. Yung goal ng proportions, i-lower muna yung insulin para hindi na siya mas gumawa pa ng more tumor, hindi na siya magkaroon pa ng signal to create more. And also, you lower your glucose para kung ano man yung cancer cells na nandyan, ay hindi mo na papakainin. Every time you think or you have this sensation na gusto kong kumain ng sugar, magigiven ako ng kanin, magigiven ako sa oatmeal, sa saging, sa tinapay, try to ask if yun ba talaga yung kailangan ng katawan mo, or maybe something else is needing it, and it could be cancer, or it could be the inflammation, or it's just the pure addiction sa ating isipan. Okay? So try to make those wise decisions better and more frequently. I understand na from time to time, darating at darating talaga, nakakain tayo ng high carb food. But yung importante dito, it's the exemption rather than the rule. Kung meron kayong kilalang merong mga cancer, you can ask mismo. And hindi surprising na yung mga kilala nating ibang may cancer are actually somewhat hindi, although marami yung mga hindi talaga health conscious, pero marami din yung very conscious, yung puro gulay lang yung kinakain, hindi kumakain ng baboy, hindi kumakain ng karne, pero bakit nagkaka-cancer pa rin? It is because they are actually eliminating the wrong foods. Okay? And that is where we go with cancer at karne. Bakit biniblame parati yung karne? It's because merong mga research na nagsasabi na eating red meat lead to cancer. And nabasa ko yung mga research na yon. And to be fair, okay, totoo nga naman, nakita nila na kapag marami yung ikinakaing karne, ay meron sa mga taong merong certain types of cancer. But, okay, this is where we have to question the quality of food na paggawa nila, na pag-check nila, at the quality of processing the data. Because noon, hindi pa uso yung low carb. So, yung binibilang nila is actually just the meat intake ng mga tao without considering kung ano yung kinakain ng mga ito together with meat. Okay? So, if I will ask you honestly, noon, naisip nyo ba kumain kayo ng karne, ng plain karne, ng walang kasamang patatas, walang kasamang noodles, pasta, bread, or rice? Of course, hindi, di ba? Para sa atin, automatic na yan. Like yung mga pasyente ko, tinatanong ko before, ano yung usual mong kainin? So, yung sabi lang, anong kinain mo kanina? Sasagot yan sa'yo, isda, Doc, o di kaya karne, o di kaya baboy, o di kaya gulay. And then, sasabihin niya na lahat. Sasabihin niya, nag-soft drink siya, sabihin niyang kumain siya ng dessert, kumain siya ng tinapay, kumain siya ng manok, kumain siya ng baboy, sasabihin niya lahat. Tapos itatanong mo, kanin? Syempre, Dok, kumain ako. So, it's already a given. Hindi natin tinitingnan yung pagkain natin ng kanin is because we already consider that as part of the meal. So, the problem with research na nagsasabi na yung karne ang nakakos ng cancer, they are not taking into account the presence of carbohydrates, the presence of insulin spike, the presence of sugar spike, together with cancer na nakita din nila. Okay? So, not because this one occurs with the other, ay siya na yung nakakakos ng not because na yung mataong mataas kumain na maraming kinain na karne ay merong cancer, siya na agad nagkukos. Because for all you know, yung mga taong kumakain ng karne, mas kumakain ng kanin. 'Di ba? Yung mga taong mahilig kumain ng karne, baka lahat sila umiinom ng soft drinks pagkatapos o nagde-dessert after. So there are many factors. And right now, there's no research saying na yung isolated intake of meat can lead to cancer. Not even problems in kidneys. Okay? So, next time, pag-uusapan natin, kidney problems and maybe on dialysis. But sa ngayon, there's no research. Actually, may bagong research na lumabas na walang correlation, walang relationship yung pagkain ng karne, high protein intake among healthy individuals, and kidney function. Wala silang effect. But your kidneys will become problematic kapag ito ay na-damage na ng sobrang sugar sa katawan. Okay? So, thank you to 5,125 live viewers. I'm not sure kung saan kayo nanonood. We are now live in Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting community. And also in our YouTube channel. So, hello po sa lahat. And if you wish to know more, marami na po tayong videos na nandyan. Browse lang po kayo, nood lang kayo, and share of course with your family and friends para malay nyo kung sinong matulungan natin. So no, we don't believe eating red meat, eating meat at all can lead to cancer. But eating meat, eating high-fat foods, together with carbohydrates, together with foods na nakakapag-lead ng inflammation, okay, and food that increases blood sugar and foods that increases insulin or contributes to insulin resistance, okay? So may mga pagkain na directly nakakapagpataas nito. If you have seen our food list, yung JGC Rojo food list, so yung nasa caution list natin, it is already divided into insulin spiking and non-insulin spiking but with inflammatory effect. So yun yung importante na kailangan nating i-take note, okay? Para make sure natin na hindi tayo mafo-fall sa trap na yan. And again, yung ating so eto yung mukha niyan, okay? So safe list, we have caution list, and we have the danger list there. So yung sa caution list natin, yung may insulin effect, yun pinaka-common na kung saan napaparami yung kumakain nito ng mga may patients na may cancer at marami pang ibang illness because thinking that these foods are the healthy foods, fruits, grains, rice, corn, wheat, oats, okay? Quinoa, couscous, balsamic rice, at kung ano-ano pa. And then, root crops. Okay? So, caution list, ibig sabihin, hindi talaga sila like totally bawal o di kaya nakakasama talaga, but you can easily overconsume them. And kung meron ka ng metabolic na illness, yes, ibig sabihin yan, you already overconsume them. So that's why you need a break. Okay? Stop muna, sandali. Okay? And think. And try to avoid them muna while you are still healing. Okay? And another food group sa ating caution list, okay, would be the ones na wala man silang direktang nakakaapekto ng ating insulin level, but they can lead into insulin resistance. So, ito yung mga bad kind of oils and processed meats, okay? If merong karne na kailangan yung iwasan when it comes to cancer, so ito yung mga processed foods, okay? So, mga delata, yung mga cured, yung mga na-process na. Okay? So, yung mga hindi na ikaw yung nagluto. So, pero kung binili mo yan, fresh from the market, from your meat supplier, tapos ikaw talaga yung nagluto, and then try to cook. Yung ibig sabihin, nagtanong kung paano daw magluto ng ulam. So, try to be simple. Okay? Yung maganda actually sa Filipino cooking is just one-step cooking. So, for example, sinigang o tinola, okay? Sabaw lang, tubig lang, and then lang mga paminta and whatever. Prito, and then grilled, okay? So, yun lang, yung basic lang yun. So, wala nang kailangang sobra pang i-marinate pa, and then ibilad sa araw, and then meron pang pre-cooking, and then i-bake. All of those, arte lang yon, okay? Arte lang yon to make some spice in your life, just like what you see sa mga artist nating mga chef sa Life Without Rice na sobrang gaganda ng plating at pinagagagawa. Pero to make it sustainable, know na yung mga taong nagpo-post sa Life Without Rice, hindi rin po araw-araw yan, okay? So, syempre, since it is a group for your food inspiration, yung nilalagay dyan, yung parang mga special food din. Pero yung pang araw-araw actually na hindi nakapost dyan, yun yung pagkain that can make your life without rice and healthy, low-carb eating sustainable. I hope you can check out no yung mga groups natin diyan. Meron diyang mga affordable meals. So basic, gulay, ampalaya na may itlog, petchay na merong giniling na baboy, and then piniritong itlog. Yun lang, okay na yun. So it doesn't need to be complicated. Kunin nyo lang yung kanin, kunin nyo lang yung inyong kape na 3-in-1, palitan nyo ng plain black coffee, okay? Or tubig, tubig lang, okay? Actually ngayon, kapag late night na, hindi na ako masyadong umiinom because too much water is also not good. Okay? It's just extra work sa kidney natin, especially kung hindi inuuhaw. But kaya lang, since nagkwento ako sa inyo, medyo inuuhaw din ako. So that's why I am having water. So safe list natin, any meat, any gulay. So remember lang yon, that could be your simple way. If you do not have any metabolic problems, wala pa kayong cancer, so all the more that you have to protect kung ano mang health na meron kayo ngayon. And know that you can improve it. You can improve it even more. Okay? If you can add on exercises, much better. But if you are still starting and you want to lose weight, gusto nyo pang magbawas ng timbang. If gusto nyo pang magbawas ng timbang, wag muna kayong mag-exercise. Okay? Kasi mahihirapan kayo sa adjustment. Kasi kapag nag-exercise kayo, and hindi pa kayo fat adapted, hindi pa kayo sanay sa low carb, pwedeng mas magkaroon kayo ng sugar cravings at yung mag-hypoglycemia kayo na transient kasi nga yung muscles nyo very dependent pa in glucose. But if you're already fat adapted, actually mas makakatolerate kayo, okay? Ng pagkaing high fat, high protein, low carb, and you will feel better. So hello sa lahat na nanonood sa atin from all over the world. Ang ganda-ganda naman. Merong mga sa Thailand and of course, marami sa iba't ibang lugar pa sa mundo. So maraming salamat po. So yun yung gist ng ating kwento about cancer and karne. I don't believe that eating meat is actually bad. For me, it's really natural kasi naniniwala ako sa evolution na we thrive. Tayo ay naging modern day human, naging successful na modern day human nung naging hunter-gatherer tayo. Na nadiscover natin yung apoy, we discovered fire, and then we learned how to cook, and we were able to extract, nakuha natin yung nutrient-dense, compact na klase ng pagkain from animal meat products. Okay? And also, na-mention ko na ito before, liver is one of the most nutritious food in the world. But hindi rin pwedeng kumain kayo ng 1 kilong liver araw-araw, not even 1/4 kilo liver araw-araw. So, 1/8 kilo liver lang in a week. Okay? 1 week lang, 1/8 kilo liver. Enough na yon, wag pa sobra. Or else baka mag-vitaminosis kayo, so sobra kayo sa mga vitamins, tataas yung inyong iron at kung ano-ano pang tataas. We don't need so much. Okay lang kumakain ng liver ng marami pero once in a while, okay? Like hunting. Alam nyo ba na in certain animal groups, okay? It's the alpha, yung leader ng pack kapag meron silang na kuhang prey. For example, yung mga wolf, and meron silang na-hunt na deer o buffalo, yung kakainin ng pack leader is yung atay lang. Ganon ka-precious yung atay. Ganon siya ka-nutrient dense. Even yung shark, akala natin yung shark na yung pinakamabangis sa lahat, di ba? But alam nyo ba na yung shark ay prey lang siya? Meron siyang predator. At eto yung mga orca or yung yung whale, yung killer whales. So yung orca, yun yung predator ng shark. At alam nyo ba anong ginagawa ng orca sa shark? Kinukuha lang niya yung atay. At yun na, pababayaan niya. Hindi niya kakainin yung karne, yung katawan, o anuman ng shark. Yung liver lang yung kakainin niya. They know how nutrient-dense liver is. Okay? So, kung gusto niyo yung liver, maswerte kayo because you can eat a very nutritious meal. Ako, I'm still on the process of loving liver, pero mabuti na lang hindi rin kailangan maraming-marami. So, kung meron dyan, mga taong tulad ko na hindi masyadong kayang kumain ng pure liver. So yung ginagawa namin ngayon, we mix it sa aming karne and we put it into our beef patty. Okay, yung mga burger patty namin. So 3 kilong karne, and then 1 kilo na liver, and then i-mix namin yan. Ginaground namin at yun yung parang kinakain namin. Main meal namin, main meat namin. But otherwise, the rest, we go for other parang pang-fill in ng pagkain namin. Walang rice, walang tinapay, walang kung ano-anong high carb, patatas, kamote, not even fruits, especially kung hindi man lang low carb. And we can just eat main meat or eggs. And kung merong mga gulay dyan, okay din. Okay? So, yun yung pinaka-main natin. And of course, if you saw our post this afternoon, magkakaroon tayo ng yacht cruise event. Okay? It's a meet, greet, eat, sail, and then repeat sa Subic, sa Dubai, sa Cebu. Sa Subic on November 10, Dubai November 19, and Cebu on November 28. I hope to see you po. Limited lang po yung slot. Nasa 20, 25 lang sa Subic, in Dubai, 40, and Cebu, 2 batches of 20. So merong noontime, lunchtime buffet, and then dinner time buffet. So just contact any of our admins. And of course, kung gusto niyo malaman yung details of this, kasi konti lang yung time natin dito, you are much invited to join our 21-day disease-specific masterclass. So, 12 diseases po ito, yung available na, ongoing, you can join anytime: diabetes, hypertension, weight loss and obesity, meron tayong fatty liver, merong GERD, hyperacidity, ulcer, and then yung current ngayon, PCOS, women's health, fertility, pregnancy, and everything about the women's reproductive health. And of course, sa susunod yan, magkakaroon na tayo ng cancers and tumors, just like what we are discussing now, and the details and the individual management na kung paano ito maa-apply. Depende sa pangangailangan ng tao, will be discussed there, and other more on kidney problems, on allergies, inflammation, on children's obesity, and insulin resistance in the young. Okay? And lastly, yung pinaka-favorite nating topic of all is longevity and mental health and thriving in general sa pamumuhay na ito. So, thank you so much. I hope you learned something. As at a recap, when it comes to cancer, we are actually not afraid of fats or meat as long as they are natural, okay? Hindi sila ganon ka-processed. And we eat them not with carbohydrates, and we eat them with other nutritious meals. And if you choose to eat carbohydrates, choose po yung carbohydrates na mataas sa fiber and vitamins and minerals but mababa sa sugar, glucose, and fructose content. Okay? So remember to share this because sharing this is also means sharing the love. So maraming salamat po everybody. This is your Diet Doctora, Dr. Josephine Grace Chua Rojo. Nandiyan lang po yung admin natin should you wish to know more or if you wish to be guided. I'll see you again in our next video. Maraming salamat po. Have a good night and have a good day and have a good week and have a good life all in all. Goodbye. Thank you.